That
It
never
did.
happened. It's not generating enough. It's not generating nearly what they thought it was.
Because of the restrictions.
Right. But now you're adding a whole nother element that is already being done illegally, and you're adding it to a tax revenue stream. And it makes it so that people like myself who would want to bet on sports don't have to go to sites that New York fights, like DraftKings and FanDuel, because that's the option I have given to me.
Which, really quickly, those websites are absolute jokes, and I am 100% against them because there were reports that their jackpots and their big winnings, the people who were winning them were family. Mm-hmm. So it was stacked against people who were winning just a little bit, and their friends and family were winning the big $1 million prizes.
I mean, that's always possible. I mean, sports betting, though, betting on the sport is completely different than a daily fantasy league.
Right.
Which is something that sports betting has been happening for centuries, decades.
Oh my,
since
yeah.
sports was around. So the fact that
there was horse racing in the 1600s.
Yeah, but we take it as the fact that it's happening right now, and why shouldn't states be able to have that in their casinos and get revenue from it? It just made sense. The fact that it took us this long to get to this decision is baffling.
I understand the arguments against it, and I'll lay them out right now. One, because then it could encourage athletes to either not try as hard or to play differently than they normally would. For example, if a player knows that they have a friend, let's just say a basketball player has a friend who says, all right, I think such and such player will score more than 20 points, they might pull a Russell Westbrook and just keep the ball themselves to get that 20 points to make sure their friend's going to cash in on big bucks.
I mean, I could see that happening. It's just
Pete Rose Jr.
It's very difficult. First off, it's gonna. If somebody has a friend like that who's gambling like that, those people are already going to be in the know right now anyway. Mm-hmm. So you're not eliminating something that doesn't already happen if we really wanted to look into it. But being said, it's opening the gate for more people to be in on the bet, which, yeah, the argument is that a player can influence a game, but I choose to believe that when I'm watching sports that all those athletes out there are trying to win. I mean, you don't have that competitive drive to make it to that high of a level if you're just okay with losing or throwing a game.
I don't know. I seriously question a few current athletes with their... Carmelo Anthony. Like, he wanted to stay in New York. He clearly didn't care about winning. He was just there to keep his lifestyle comfortable and cash his paycheck. That's clearly what he cared about.
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't think that's going to change whether or not sports betting is legal. I think that's just who Melo was.
I'm just saying if it comes down to it, then there could be people who end up going the route that Carmelo did. I'm just here to make my money. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I don't think it'll affect the product as a whole.
No, where things will get affected, and this might be an unintended consequence, I think this is also going to, with the NFL, they legalize the gambling, NFL, gets revenue from that. When do you think, and I think it's going to be an immediate action, that these athletes to try and quote-unquote incentivize them to not do anything shady with the gambling, how long after do you think it's going to be before they all get guaranteed contracts like the NBA, Major League Baseball, and NHL do? Because they're the only...
I think they were facing that inevitability regardless of gambling coming into. I think that they were just holding on to the last scrape of not having to go that way. But as collecting and bargaining continues to go forward every time it comes up, I think that was going to be a major issue that eventually the NFL was going to lose it anyway. So I think now there's more reason for them to abandon it because it makes more sense to protect the product. If you're going to talk about conduct detrimental to the league and protecting the shield, it only makes sense if gambling becomes legal to make guaranteed contracts part of the agreement. It makes business sense.
And now the debate that I'd been hearing for the next CBA was going to be they either get paid more or they get guaranteed contracts.
And I think players are more likely to go for guaranteed contracts than paid more.
I don't think they have to argue at all. I think they're going to get both.
Well, I think you're going to get guaranteed contracts, but the idea that you're not going to be paid more money, we've seen the numbers go up every year. It's going to continue to happen. It's not going to happen.
Well, I think you're going to get even. Don't be surprised if in the next few years you see a $200 million contract in the NFL.
I wouldn't be shocked by it either.
Especially with gambling. With legalized gambling.
I think legalized gambling is going to create a larger revenue stream than anybody could have imagined. It's going to be much bigger because a lot of you can run the numbers all you want, but you can't run numbers on people who are doing it illegally. You just can't get a control of a number like that. And now the people that are doing it illegally are able to do it legally. I think the surge is going to be much higher than they ever predicted.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Because now you don't have to seek out a bookie. No. You don't have these crazy terms.
Well, bookies are kind of an extinct thing in the past anyways. I mean,
they're still around. They still exist because they're the only way you can get this across right now in certain areas like New York or other states that don't allow this. But now you're eliminating the need to have somebody who's kind of sketchy and you can't be back. But one of the main reasons for sports betting being legalized is there's no protection on the bettor. There's nothing saying the bookie has to pay you.
Right.
That's how people get shot.
Well, there are other things like the same principle that I argue with legalizing prostitution, legalizing marijuana, legalizing whatever it is that you want. Just because it's legal doesn't mean everyone's going to obtain it legally. You're still going to have people who go through the bookies because whether they've built a relationship with someone or the one thing that I think is going to happen is there are going to be limits on the amount that you can bet per bet in casinos, and you won't be able to bet unless you physically have that money with you. Whereas a bookie, they're just going to be like, you owe me $50,000. They'll take it on faith.
Yeah, I don't think it's not going to be eliminated. I don't think that, first of all, you can't legalize something and expect it to always, guns have always been legal in this country. That doesn't mean that there's not an illegal gun trade. It happens.
Oh, no, you're right.
You can lessen the effects of it by legalizing it. You're never going to get away with it. And anytime you're in a casino and betting, obviously, you have to have the money up front. They're not going to let you bet on an IOU. That's not how this works in a casino. You have the money, then you can bet. You don't have the money, then get away from the table.
Then go get the money and come back.
There's other people. There's an ATM right over there. Yes, the surge charge is $12, but who cares? You're about to gamble it away anyway.
Yeah. So that's the one big negative, I think, of it in terms of the actual gambling aspect. Obviously, there are people who are addicted to gambling. This is going to, some people are going to abuse it, yada, yada, yada. I don't mean to diminish that aspect, but that's not what we as a sports podcast are focusing on. If you want to listen to the effects of legalized gambling on the mental and physical addiction side, then seek out another podcast because this is not where you're going to find it.
No. And it's not that that's even going to be an issue, because if that was an issue that people were really that hyped about, then Vegas wouldn't exist. Okay?
Oh,
Vegas makes a lot of people poor.
There are a lot of there's when I was at the assembly doing the internship, the thesis paper that I wrote was on labeling poker and other casino games as games of chance instead of games of skill. Because a game of skill is gambling, and if there's only two outcomes, it's more skill to determine what outcome is correct. Whereas with roulette, you have, 118 different possible options?
I ranked in on roulette, by the way.
Good. I'm glad.
So I'm not. I see your point though, because that is chance.
One of the parts of the thesis paper was who are the opposition to this bill, and there are millions of people in New York alone that are opposed to legalized gambling. Millions. One big group, NIMBY, not in my backyard, NIMBY. Again, if you're looking for information on the addiction and harmful effects to the psyche and all that, look up NIMBY, NIMBY. again, that's not us.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's going to be arguments for and there's going to be arguments against. I just think that this is something that has been a long time coming, and it was inevitable. So, it's only going to be better for... I think, personally, one of the things you're going to see is this is going to increase sports viewership numbers.
Absolutely. The casual fans are now going to have more of an intrigue and interest in actually watching the game.
Well, I mean, if you have money invested in anything, you care about it more.
Right.
I mean, that's just basic economics. I mean, so you're going to see viewership increase. And whatever the NFL thinks they lost, over whatever reason they want to claim that they lost it, sports betting is going to increase that and make up for that, if not surpass it anyway.
See that? They're going to make NASCAR watchable, too.
Oh, my God. No, I don't care how much money I have on NASCAR. There is 0% chance I'm watching even 10 seconds of a race.
I know people who bet on Russian under-18 hockey.
Listen,
And they can't even watch that, okay? So NASCAR will get a boost.
They
can watch that.
I am very certain that one time when I was in an establishment that I was eating at that others were drinking at.
A bar?
Perhaps. I don't want to label them.
You'd be drinking soda?
Yeah, whatever it might be. I'm pretty sure I saw a gentleman wager $50 on if a kid was going to spell something on the spelling bee right.
Oh, it happens. It happens. You can bet on anything.
You can bet on anything.
In like church, you can bet who's going to finish giving out communion first.
I mean, you can.
These are like two people handing out.
No, the easiest bet is which kid's going to throw up after the blood of Jesus.
Stewie Griffin?
Yeah.
I'm going with the kid that was pounding sugar in his way in.
Probably him, yes. So I put on Twitter a poll where I asked, now that the Supreme Court has lifted the ban on legalized gambling, do you want to see your state legalize gambling, sports gambling? And the overwhelming answer 100% was yes. Everyone said yes.
I think there's few people that would say no. I mean, I understand the advocate groups that are out there, but I think as far as any sports fan, given that we're a sports podcast, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a sports fan who's like, nope, don't think you should do it.
There are going to be some because it'll, affect the integrity of the game. I think that athletes playing just for money and not playing for the love of the game affects the integrity.
Yeah, but I mean, athletes, that's the thing. They can, legalizing it by a statewide isn't going to change that. If athletes wanted to gamble on sports, they could still do it. All they need is a phone number to a guy in Vegas. That's it. Michael Jordan had a phone on the Bulls plane so he could bet other sporting events in Vegas. So there's nothing that's stopping them from doing this already. It's just now that there's more access to it in more states.
Yeah, now he's just going to have to walk down the street to his bookie, not call on the plane.
Yeah, that correlate. Yeah. Could it affect the integrity of the game? Sometimes I think the NFL affects the integrity of some of their games. There's some calls that are questionable. Where'd the tuck rule come from? Okay? All of a sudden that just happened, and I'm supposed to just take that for face value?
How many pathetic fumbles you see like in the last 2 minutes where it's like, just drop it and they run it in and cover the spread. Same thing.
That you're getting a little conspiracy theory-ish there.
Yeah, but the conspiracy theory is already out there about the integrity of the game. There's people that solely believe that MLB or NBA and NFL are fixed games. They already know who's going to be in the Super Bowl when it comes down to it. It's not the NBA. We already know that's going to happen because there's only 3 teams that can make it.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know. I don't know if LeBron's going to be able to get past the Celtics.
I hope not.
Oh, I don't want either team. Can we just have the Rockets and the Warriors play in the NBA Finals? I know that.
I thought that was the NBA Finals.
No, they're playing in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, but who cares what happens afterwards?
Oh, no, you're right. That's a good point.
Does it matter? Whoever wins that series is going to win the championship. LeBron struggled against Indiana, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
And then somehow they swept Toronto because Toronto forgot that they had to play this long.
I mean, maybe they were all hanging out with Mayor Rob Ford. I don't know.
Well, I hope so, because that's at least an excuse.
Yeah. But
because their play doesn't offer any excuses.
I have one more question in regards to the gambling aspect, and I don't know if it's going to change anything really, but how would legalized gambling change people's perception of Pete Rose?
Okay, so